All right, so I'm going to help host it a little bit here since there's only one microphone and I've got a loud enough voice. You can all hear me, yes?
Yes.
Yay. Now this is a Q&A, which means it's interactive, which means don't be shy. If you have a question, put your hand in the air. You're going to say your name, you're going to say your questions. Don't ask too many questions about what it was like 30 years ago. I bet you all don't remember what it was like 30 years ago. Let's ask really interesting questions. Put your thinking caps on. This is your chance to get questions answered that aren't all over the internet. Everybody can agree to that, right? Yeah. Yay! So, to get us started, I want to let everybody know who may not know, Billy, aside from being a very accomplished and award-winning actor, is also an accomplished and award-winning artist. So, Billy, why don't you share with everybody a little bit of your art background?
Well, I grew up in New York City, and I went to a school called Music and Art High School. That was a school that was like performing arts, except that we had a department for painters as well as performers and musical performers specifically. And I was an art major, and I was there for 4 years, and then after I left there, I got a scholarship to a school called the National Academy of Design and Fine Arts, where I spent 4 years on the scholarship, 2 years on the scholarship painting. And I was nominated, I was 19 years old, I was nominated for a Guggenheim, and I received a Hallmark, which is comparable to a Guggenheim. And so painting has been very much a part of my life and very much a part of my passion. It's one thing, when you're in the movie business or you're in the theater business, it's pretty much a collective. And you're working with the writers and directors and producers, but when you're a painter, you just lock yourself in a room and you got your easels, you got your paints, and you have your canvas, and you just express yourself in very personal terms. So it's a wonderful, excruciating outlet, and I say excruciating only because a lot of people think it's a therapeutic. For me, it's when you're trying to arrive at an idea or a point of view, you have this idea in your head, and then you have to execute it or expedite it. It can be very, very painstaking. So, but when you have the final result, and the final result is good, then it's worth all of the pain that you go through. So I guess this life is not without its pains. Pain.
And Mr. Williams has a painting in the Smithsonian, correct?
Yeah, I have the Smithsonian owns one of my pieces at the National Portrait Gallery, and the Schoenberg in New York has one of my pieces, and the Kansas City Jazz Museum has one of my pieces. Because I've done a lot of pieces on jazz. That was my era. I grew up in that era, the bebop era. So I've done a lot of pieces on that. But I do a lot of different things. But it's a wonderful way to express oneself, if you're able to. My daughter, she's wonderful. She won't paint. She was painting. But she actually runs the gallery. She works for one of probably the premier art dealer in the world, Larry Gargosi. So she runs this whole situation there. So she's much more administrative. That was always very interesting to me. Here's a young person who's very creative, extremely creative, but really enjoyed. And I saw, it's like watching. Having children is wonderful. I always enjoyed my children. She was very artistic, but she was much more administrative. And she enjoyed really organizing art as opposed to really sit down and doing it. But now
now my granddaughter, she and I, we would make a lot lately, so that's been a lot of fun. And my grandson.
And if you guys want to see some of Mr. Williams' work, you can go to his website, which is bdwworldart.com, and you can see a little sampling of what he has. And if any of you are ever up in Toronto recently, or will be going, there is the List Gallery, which has his art on display and for sale. And if you want to see a sample of one of the pieces, we actually have a poster hanging behind him on his booth, the lithograph of the painting he did based on The Empire Strikes Back. This is pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'm going. I think somebody wants me to go to Maui in September. They're having a jazz festival there, and I work a lot with the Thelonious Monk Jazz Institute in Washington D.C. We put on competitions every year, and that's pretty extraordinary. And but there's somebody else who's doing a jazz competition in Maui in September, and I'm probably going to end up showing some paintings there at the gallery. So if anybody's in Maui in September, you'll probably see some of the paintings.
Anyone going to Maui? Anyone want to go to Maui? All right, so don't be shy. If you have questions, put your hands in the air, because now is when I'm going to look at you and say, what's your question? So perfect. See?
Repeat the website?
Repeat the website. BDW, it's his initials, Billy Dee Williams, bdwworldart.com, all one word.
And then, about your children, how many children do you have, grandchildren?
I have two, but BDW, everybody thinks it's BD Ward. No, I have two kids, Corey and Hanako. Hanako is that's Japanese, means flower. My wife's Japanese.
Is there a particular artist that you're influenced by?
I'm influenced by an awful lot of people. Thomas Hart Benton. What's his name? Well, the Mexican muralists. I always like the Mexican muralists. Rivera, Orozco, Silleros. But it was the old masters. I studied all of that stuff, so it was a lot of African art, a lot of it, especially the stuff from Benin, North African art. But I'm influenced by just about everything, really, to tell you the truth. I call my work abstract reality, and what I mean by that, as real as things are, they are as abstract. It gives me a lot of levels to play on. But of course, I came up during the whole period when I was a kid, the abstract expressions, especially in New York City. But I borrow from everybody. But I always say I steal. More edgy.
Right. Put your hands in the air if you have them. Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Could you please tell me how it felt being a leading actor as a man of color at a time when there really wasn't much going on? I mean, especially thinking of like Mahogany and things like that, because you were, publicized as being sexy at a time that it just wasn't happening or wasn't that.
I was just a working actor, just thinking about getting the next job. That was all that was in my brain, and finding interesting things to do. That's all that I thought about. My whole life has been a very eclectic life, so I don't find myself dwelling on all of these, concerns that people have.
Yes, sir.
Other than your role as Randall Garrison, was there something else at the time that you were looking at that you may have gone a different route?
Well, I was gaining a lot of popularity around that time, and, because of Brian's song, Lady Sings the Blues, Mahogany, and a few other things that I was doing. And so when that was introduced to me, I really looked forward to doing it because I wanted to, because the whole idea of working with George Lucas was, I think, a these youth filmmakers coming along, like Spielberg and Scorsese and Coppola. So to be able to work and be a part of that whole movement was very exciting for me. And then, of course, when I met Bert Kirschner, whom I always admired, I thought he was one of the most brilliant filmmakers in the United States of America. So it was an opportunity that I could seize on.
Will you be appearing in the new Star Wars movie? Because we need you in it.
Did you see me on Kimmel? Anybody see that? Yeah. Well, that was one idea. But I think the best idea to me is, since I'm at this particular juncture in my life, is to have like a beautiful daughter who's a Jedi. That's a good way to reintroduce myself.
As of right now, none of the original cast has signed on, but in order to get them to sign on, all of you are how it happens. You need to Twitter, blog, Facebook, get JJ's office in LA, send them handwritten letters. If you, the fans, demand them to be in it, that's how it's going to happen. So it's in your hands. You can tell us, but there's not much we can do. So Twitter, blog, Facebook, whatever you can, get it out there. We want to see Lando, we want to see Han, whatever. It's your job. You all going to do that?
Yes.
Anyone have JJ's address?
We'll find it.
We'll find it. All right. Who's next?
I like how Hollywood actually covered really nice. I wanted to know, was there a part, maybe one that sticks out in particular that you wanted to play but you didn't get?
Not really. I've been very fortunate, you know. I mean, there are projects that I wanted to do and I tried to get off the ground. You know, I've always wanted to play, for instance, Duke Ellington, and that was a very difficult. I came very close a few times, but it never really happened. And I always felt that I was the best person to do Ellington because I understood that sensibility, you know, that kind of elegance. But there was another character that a lot of people don't realize was a mulatto. It was Alexander Dumas. And that was, he was an extraordinary, bigger-than-life kind of character. I always liked playing around with bigger-than-life kind of characters. So that we tried to do, was not able to do.
And? Yes.
Yes, kind of building off his question. When you played Harvey Dent in Batman, did you ever at one point want to play Two-Face?
Oh, absolutely. They had changed hands. So I think Sony bought them out, and it never happened. But they went through a lot of changes anyway. I mean, how many Batmans have they had? And all the characters. But no, I think it would have been really interesting. It would have been a departure, but it didn't happen. So, you know, win some and lose some.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been in San Antonio? Is your first visit to San Antonio?
You know, I keep thinking I've been to San Antonio because I you know, my father's from Texas, from Houston. I buried him here in Texas. But I think I've been here in my travels.
Yes,
But
sir.
it's very nice to be here now, and I find the people here really wonderful.
Brian's song is, according to ESPN, considered one of the top 10 sports movies in the history. Who do you think are more passionate fans, sci-fi fans or sports fans? Concerning, your career.
Well, I think it's equal. I think an awful lot of people remember that experience that Brian saw, and it's a classic. And they still play it. I was in Europe one time, and I put the tube on, and it was playing. So it has a kind of really wonderful longevity. But I I think it's equal.
Ken? Yes.
How much free Colt 45 did you get? Commercial for Colt 45.
How much did I get?
How much free?
Free Coke 45? A lot of the water. They use a certain spring water, I think, at the time, in their beer. But I'm not a big beer drinker. But it's a good beer. I always thought it was a pretty good beer.
So if you're not a beer drinker, what do you drink?
I like to drink fine wines. I'm a big wine drinker. But beer, there are a lot of beer connoisseurs, people who are aficionados, and who really get into it. And I think it has as much importance as any fine wine that you find.
So who's for beer? Ken? Who's for wine? And everybody
Has
else?
a Amarone?
No.
It's an Italian wine? Brilliant wine. Brilliant bouquet mixture.
Mr. Williams has one more night in town. What should he try here? You tell us. What? Riverwalk? I don't think you can drink that. What I meant was what could be consumed.
Oh.
Your beer is what? Lone Star beer? Okay.
Shiner box.
Oh, they're all screaming Shiner box, Shiner box.
You have local beers here?
Shiner box.
It's called what?
Shiner box.
China box?
B-O-C-K. Shiner box. Can we get it at any restaurant? Any good restaurant?
Yeah, we can find that. Love it.
There's also a group home outside of the Blue Star Arts Complex, Blue Hill.
Okay.
It's an arts complex, a working artist and a group.
Oh, sweet. All right, well, we may need to go find some of that tonight then. Cool. Shiner Bach. You know what? Just you come to our table and write it down for us. All right. Anyone else? Put your hand. What's that? If somebody goes over and buys us something, they'll try it. All right. Anyone else? Anyone else? Don't be shy. Come on, guys. Yes.
What was the most fun experience you had doing a movie or commercial or television? All your acting experiences, what was the most fun you had?
Well, I guess most of the experiences have been really interesting and fun and enjoyable. Certainly fun. I certainly had a lot of fun doing the Bingo Long Traveling All-Stars and Movie Teams, which is about the Negro baseball teams during the 30s and 40s. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And what about now, Billy? You're doing a lot of work with Seth Green and Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah, robot chicken and stuff like that. and the one that's on the net.
Well, you've got Star Wars Detours, and you've got the new one, Yoda Chronicles, the Legos thing.
Yeah, I get a kick out of doing that stuff. But it's real interesting to me because I spent a lot of time parodying myself. It's very interesting. It's like trying to find out how many ways can I, parody myself. It's really interesting.
Yes, sir.
It's nice to laugh about yourself, but you should.
Were you able to keep any kind of props or anything from any of the films you've done, like, from and stuff? Anything that you'd like to keep?
I had an Ewok head. And I got a lot of stuff from the early years when, was collectibles and I put away. But I should have kept the cape because that was the key.
Sadly, with the Star Wars stuff, Lucasfilm was so tight. Even the actors, none of the main cast even got a full script. They only got their parts. So we wish. you had your hand, right? Yes.
Is there any actor you get mistaken for like all the time?
Yeah, the guy from
Hey, somebody got mistaken, I didn't tell you this one, I got mistaken for Barry Gordy. I thought, well, I get mistaken for Quincy Jones, Herbie Hancock,
and it's Carl Weathers from Rocky.
Carl Weathers.
People come up to the table and they see all the Star Wars stuff. Well, we loved you in Rocky 3 or whatever. Really? Yeah.
Since you're a wine drinker, would you ever lend your likeness to a wine company? They call it Calrissian Casanova or something?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you planning something?
I'm just saying, just throwing it out there.
$1 million idea right there.
It is $1 million. Don't be shy if you have more. Yes.
What's your advice, your personal advice for someone who is like me and is going to acting?
Well, first of all, I think if you want to pursue it, it's a wonderful, it can be a wonderful profession. I think that you really have to dedicate yourself and go through all of the machinations that all actors go through when they're trying to, become successful at it. I think you have to just really study hard, work hard, read a lot, go to museums, study people, just surround yourself with as much experiences as possible. But practice. That's always my mantra. Is practice. I think that's the key.
Are you a young actor?
And do theater. Do a lot of theater if you can. If you can find places to do theater, it's a good idea. I think that's for me, I did a lot of theater, and I still do theater. I think that's if you really want to learn about what you're capable of doing, I think theater is the way to go.
So theater. You going to be in a show soon? No? Okay. Yes.
Hi. What's your preference, movie, film, or theater?
Both. I love theater, I love movies, television. Yeah.
Any way to release from inside the performance?
Yeah, it doesn't make any difference where you do it, as long as you do it, you can learn from all of those experiences. They're different.
Does it make you more nervous when you film or TV?
Well, it's all a challenge, no matter what. And there's a way to deal with the nerves. You just challenge into what they're doing, and then you stop being nervous.
And the experiences are different as well because you figure TV is very fast. Plays, you get to rehearse a lot. In films, you can do as many takes as you want. So,
I ended up doing for a while in soap, and that was a different experience. I just wanted to find out what that was all about. And you don't really have a tremendous amount of time to do anything. It's going to be right up. Listen, I admire people who do sitcoms. I mean, that is, especially when I watch a show like the Nerd Show. Big Bang